This is All India Radio. In the program Samvaad, now we bring you a discussion on achievements of the Ministry of Labour and Employment with emphasis on policy initiatives during COVID-19. The participants are Shankar Agarwal, former Secretary, Ministry of Labour and Employment, and AIR Special Correspondent Mattu J.P. Singh.
Sir, today is the World Day Against Child Labour. This year, World Day Against Child Labour 2020 will focus on the impact of crisis on child labour. How is the COVID-19 health pandemic impacting child labour, as there is fear that the resulting economic and labour market shock can push millions of vulnerable children into child labour?
Child labour is a big menace in the entire world, and especially in developing and underdeveloped countries like India. And that's why the government of India has taken a big initiative and banned all child labour across country. That means no child below the age of 14 could work anywhere, including in the family enterprises. He could only help. There is a distinction between help and work. And secondly, even for the adolescents, they were banned to work in a hazardous organization. Because of coronavirus, people have lost a lot of jobs. A lot of enterprises have become non-viable. Under these circumstances, there will be huge crisis as far as the jobs are concerned. Then the economy is not doing well, and then there is huge crisis in the job market. People would look into those areas where they can have labor without paying sufficient money. And that means what? People would like to engage child labor because that is cheap, and that though it is illegal, but they would do everything under the sun to engage such people so that they don't have to pay so much of money to the laborer. So I feel that because of the coronavirus, we had to be extremely vigilant to ensure the children are not being engaged in any of these activities. And that means huge enforcement on the part of the government as well as on the part of the civil society.
If we take it further, sir, the Ministry of Labour and Employment has been in dialogue with the social partners to discuss the emergent situation arising out of COVID-19 pandemic and to chalk out strategies and policy initiatives to minimize its impact on the workers and on the economy. The ministry has already held webinars with the representatives of the central trade unions and the employers associations. All of this, we also have the issue of migrant labourers. So what is the nature of grievance redressal in these situations?
You see, the biggest problem because of COVID is migrant labor engagement. Now, because of lockdown, it was not possible to retain them in small and crowded places. Ultimately, they had to be released. Since the enterprises were not working, they were not getting jobs, and people were demanding rent, and they needed money to take care of their families and themselves. So they wanted to migrate to their native villages. Now, migration again created a lot of problems for the administration of the COVID. Now, there are pros and cons. I'm not going into that. However, the fact of the matter is that people have lost a lot of jobs, and especially those who had come from rural areas and working in urban areas. And now in urban areas, there is no jobs. So the first and the foremost problem was that of the payment of the wages. Actually, when the enterprises are not making money, it was not possible for them to make payments against their salary and wages, and especially when there was a completely lockdown and there was no input coming to the enterprises. On the other hand, socially and morally, it was binding on them to make some kind of a payment, and that's why even the Supreme Court said they had to sit across the table and find out some solution so that the migrant workers can get paid even partially, and their existence has to be made more respectful and meaningful. The government is talking to all kinds of stakeholders, the labor unions, the entrepreneurs, and other interested and stakeholders. And once they are able to reach to some kind of a consensus, they will be able to issue guidelines. In this crisis, we must make payment to the migrant labor to an extent possible, number one. Number two, we must restart the economy as soon as possible so that these people can get employment opportunities. Finally, we had to find out ways and means of starting and creating new enterprises in rural area or semi-urban areas or Mufassal towns so that people can get jobs and employment opportunities very near to their places of living.
If we talk about un-lockdown period now, sir, that what measures are needed to generate employment and also measures for restarting economic activities?
It's a very important and very critical issue. Nobody has got 100% solution. However, to my mind, I find that we must create an environment which allows entrepreneurs to run their businesses successfully and without any hindrance. If you start any enterprise, you'll find large number of NOCs which have to be obtained. To my mind, we must do away with all these kinds of NOCs except for environment and except for the safety. There should not be requirement or the need to get an NOC from PWD, irrigation, and whole lot of other departments to start even a school. There's no need. You've got to have an NOC from all kinds of state government, central government, not required at all. Secondly, we have put a lot of restriction on fee and things like that. We must take away all these restrictions, and we must take away the necessity of NOC, because NOC ultimately creates delay and it creates a lot of corruption in the system and there's a lot of friction. So we must do it so that the life becomes easier for the entrepreneur. Secondly, entrepreneurs will not be able to produce goods and services unless there is a demand. Today, unfortunately, people do not have money in their pocket. So we have to do something so that people get some kind of a money in their pocket. But I think that maybe the GST may be reduced, income tax slab may be reduced, some kind of almost interest-free loan can be given to a lot of people who are speakers consumption. And once we do that, there will be a kick start of the economy, and that will create employment opportunities.
So now if we look at EPFO, we see in recognition of need to bring service delivery closer to the doorsteps EPS pensioners, especially during the challenging times of COVID-19 pandemic, EPFO has proactively partnered with Common Service Center to provide facility to submit digital Jeevan Praman. How has this partnership helped in withdrawing pensions?
Including the services which are being rendered by EPFO can be now sought and can be delivered through the Common Service Center, and this is what is being done. For the Jeevan Praman, unnecessarily people had to go, even as a retired bureaucrat and secretary to the Government of India, I had to go to the bank to present myself and to tell them that, look here, I'm still alive. We must now adopt new ways and means of doing business, and if the district headquarters to the treasury or to the banker, can I go to the Common Service Center, which is in the village itself, and some kind of Jeevan Praman or Patra. And on the basis of that, I'll keep getting my pension. So that's a very, very good step, and I'm sure it will hugely benefit to those who are living in remote areas, in villages. They need not come to the town, they need not come to the district headquarters to obtain a Jeevan Praman Patra.
To enhance the ease of living experience of its members during the challenging times of COVID-19 lockdown, EPFO has left no stone unturned in ensuring timely and effective delivery of services to its members. Despite the lockdown restrictions, EPFO settled a staggering 36.02 lakh claims, thereby disbursing 11,540 crores to its members during the last 2 months of April and May. Sir, if we see out of this 15.54 lakh claims, disbursing 4,580 crore rupees to claimants were related to the recently introduced COVID-19 advance under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana itself.
I'm extremely proud of the fact that EPFO is doing wonderful work. And at that point of time, in spite of huge resistance, including some of the unions, we introduced computerization. And today, because of this computerization, because most of the services are being delivered online, things have become transparent, things have become efficient, and now people can get the delivery of services on real-time basis. And secondly, now EPFO has also introduced this scheme under which an advance loan is being given. That would put money in the pockets of a lot of workers, and once that money is available, they would like to spend that money, and that will help in kick-starting the economy.
In an attempt to supply updated latest statistics related to labour welfare, Shri Santosh Kumar Gangwar, Minister of State for Labour and Employment, inaugurated the Twitter handle @LabourDG for Labour Bureau. So how will this facilitate labour market indicators?
This would certainly help in creating not only awareness, but in delivering public services related to EPFO.
The Ministry of Labour and Employment under its National Career Service, the NCS project, has now started offering free online career skills training in partnership with TCS ION for its registered job seekers. So how do you look at the NCS project for transformation of the National Employment Service?
After a lot of effort, we could create this platform, and the idea was that instead of going to Naukri.com and many other such platforms, which are in private sector, and many a time we are not very sure about the authenticity of the job being offered, and many a times we were not very sure whether the data which is being collected by this platform is not being misused. So we thought it would be a good idea to create a platform in the public sector, and that's why this career center was launched. Even at that point of time, we were thinking how to provide skills using this particular platform. They are trying to impart skills so that kids, and especially the girls, they don't have to come to the bigger towns. They don't have to come to the district headquarters, and they can get skills sitting in their home. That was the idea. And what kind of skills? Which are appropriate for their own career advancement. And I'm sure this particular initiative of the Ministry of Labour and Employment would do wonderfully well.
Some suggestions were received by the Labour Ministry to allow for relaxation of provisions of Industrial Disputes Act to treat the lockdown period as layoff, and keeping in view the difficulties being faced by the industry and liquidity crisis, the wages paid to the workers may be covered under the expenses under CSR funds. How do you analyze these viewpoints?
We have to take every possible step so that economy can be restarted and money can be put in the pockets of consumers. And it is very necessary that we allow such things so that people get some kind of easy loan, or they can get some money, or they get advantage of the relaxed labor laws. What happens if you look around? All these labor laws were meant for the benefit and for the welfare of the worker. But in the process, we created an enforcement mechanism which is so archaic and which is so draconian that entrepreneurs find it very difficult to survive in this kind of an environment. For even a small lapse of adherence to the labor laws, their punishment is going to the jail, and this is not required. We can have a graded kind of a punishment, first warning kind of thing, thereafter the financial punishments, and thereafter only the jail term. Now what happens, all these inspectors and enforcement agents, they are creating a fear amongst the entrepreneurs, and they find it very, very difficult to deal with such people. So at least for the short term, we must relax all these rules and regulations so that without any fear, but not at the cost of the labor. They want basically three kinds of security. One is the wage security, so that minimum wages are being paid to everyone. Number two is the social security. That means in case of death, in case of a medical emergency, in case of old age, they are being protected. And third, which we call the job security. Job security does not mean that we cannot fire him, we cannot de-hire a person. Idea is that if a person is not performing, there is no requirement of that particular worker, then there should be a mechanism to de-hire him. And while de-hiring, we should give a good severance package so that he or she can take care of himself or herself and the family.
Sir, we talk of the Sustainable Development Goals. These goals call on a global community to take effective measures to eradicate forced labor. The target also emphasizes on ending modern slavery and human trafficking and secure the prohibition and elimination of the worst forms of child labor. So how do you think we can achieve this by 2025 to end the child labor in all its forms?
We got to improve the quality of education. Education includes skills also. Unfortunately, the quality of education in this country is appalling. The fact is that in spite of the fact that we are 1.4 billion people today, we do not provide any noble knowledge. We do not add anything new to the existing pool of knowledge. That means what? That whatever education is being imparted to our students, mostly it is meaningless. Most of our engineering graduates are unemployable. So we got to improve the quality of education. Instead of acquisition of knowledge, our focus should be on application of knowledge. That is part one. Secondly, in addition to that, we must have many more centers to provide skills in new areas. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, that's a must. And secondly, once we create education and then we create awareness. And third, we must create mechanisms so that people become prosperous in the shortest possible time. And when I say prosperous, I'm not talking about those people who are already rich. Otherwise, the gap between the rich and the poor will keep on widening, and which is not conducive for the sustainable development of any society. Idea is that we should be able to help the people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, and they should become new entrepreneurs. They should be able to create new jobs. They should be able to create for themselves as well as for the society. And once we do that, this problem of child labor will get reduced to a very, very large extent.
Thank you, sir, for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
You were listening to a discussion on achievements of Ministry of Labour and Employment with emphasis on policy initiatives during COVID-19. The participants were Shankar Agarwal, former Secretary, Ministry of Labour and Employment, and AIR Special Correspondent Mattu JP Singh. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.